Hello, this is Jackie with Panama Relocation Tours, and thank you so much for joining me for our Saturday live stream. You know, somebody told me they call it Saturday Night Live with Jackie because we go live every Saturday. I have two guests that are going to be joining us today. One is Peter and one is Nikolaus. I'll bring them on in just a little bit, but first I have a few announcements to make. We'd love to know where you're from, so if you could type that into the chat session. And also, we're very curious to know which area in Panama that you're most interested in, because that's going to help us determine, having problems with my lights, sorry about this. That's going to help us determine where we should send our videographer off to do some videos of the areas that you're most interested in. So let us know in the chat window which area in Panama that you'd really like to see some more videos of. So the announcements that I have to make, and for the benefit of you that are new to our Saturday live streams, my name's Jackie Lang. I'm the owner of Panama Relocation Tours. We started offering 6-day, 7-night all-inclusive tours in 2010. We're currently doing tour, I believe, number 193, maybe it's 194. And since we started the tour business, we've helped thousands of people have a smooth move to Panama. In addition to our all-inclusive tours, we also do private tours of the most popular places to live in Panama. So we just have a lot of different ways to help you have a really smooth move to Panama. Sorry, I'm having so many problems with my lights this time. They just don't want to cooperate. I'll try to get it fixed. There we go. We can help you. Check out PanamaRelocationTours.com. Click on the online guide for our complete Panama relocation guide. Click on the Tours tab to see information about our relocation tours, both the all-inclusive tours and the private tours. So some of the announcements that I have to make is normally we do a live stream every Saturday, and the last Saturday of the month is usually our Q&A, or it's your chance to ask your questions and I just answer your questions. But it just so happens that the 24th is next Saturday. Next Saturday is the 17th, and then after that is the 24th, which is Christmas Eve, and then New Year's Eve is on the 31st. So I'm rearranging the schedule a little bit for the rest of this month. Next Saturday, which is the 17th, I'm going to do the Q&A, which is your big chance to ask your questions. These lights are so frustrating. So it's your big chance to ask your questions, of any questions that you have about moving to Panama. That'll be next Saturday at our usual time, 5 p.m. Central, 6 Eastern time, next Saturday. And then instead of doing a live stream on the 24th, I'm going to release a brand new video. We've already got it all uploaded on YouTube and ready to go. On the 24th at 5 p.m. Central, instead of our live stream, I'll release a new video about Edith talking about moving to Pedicy. You don't want to miss that video. She shows where she goes shopping, her beautiful home and swimming pool, walking on the beach, just all kinds of great things. I think I'm going to give up on these lights and go buy some new ones. So that'll be on the 24th, Christmas Eve. It's your Christmas present. And then on the 31st, we have a brand new video of living in the Las Tablas area. And it's a couple that's going to talk about moving there, show the beautiful house that they're renting, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a swimming pool for $1,000 a month. The husband loves to go fishing, so he's going to show some fishing videos and playing golf. Did you know that in Chitre you can play golf for $80 a month for unlimited golf? As many times as you want to, you can play golf there. So he's going to show playing golf in the Chitre area also. So that'll be on the 31st. I know it's a lot to remember. Don't worry. I'm going to send you an email about all that information. Two other important announcements that I have is starting in 2023, we've rearranged our itinerary for the tours. It used to be that whenever I very first started doing tours in 2010, we'd spend a whole day in Panama City, and then we would leave and go to the Coronado area on Sunday. But we heard from so many people that said they didn't want to live in Panama City, so we stopped going there. Hold on. Someone said my sound is not good. Thanks for letting me know. Is that better? Let me know if the sound is better. So anyway, so starting in 2023, we're going to be spending all of Saturday in Panama City. So this is not for tourists. This is going to be seeing the different neighborhoods. We're going to see some rentals. We're going to show you where you go to immigration if you got your visa in Panama City, show you where you go to get your driver's license authenticated. If you're living in the Panama City area, we're going to go to some several different neighborhoods. The Panama Pacifica is a super popular neighborhood. Also El Cangrejo and Pachilla and Clayton are some of the neighborhoods that we plan to visit. Plus we have a few other surprises for you whenever we do the Panama City tour on Saturday. And then on Sunday, we'll head over to the Coronado Beach area. So everybody says the sound is better now since I moved my microphone. So that's our new itinerary for 2023. If you go to our website and click on tours, you can just click on itinerary, and it has a lot more information about how we're changing it up a little bit for 2023. One of the reasons we're doing it is because the rents have come way down in Panama City. You can get a great apartment for $800, $900 a month. I know people that lived in Boquete and they've left Boquete and moved to Panama City because they're getting such a great deal on rents right now. So because rents have come down, that's why we're doing Panama City. There's more people are moving to that area. Of course, you can also take the subway for 25 cents. You can take Metro to get all over town. Cost of living has come down a lot for Panama City, and many more people are interested in that area, and that's why we want to show it to you. So one other announcement that I want to make, and then I'm going to get right into bringing our guest on. So if we have something called the online guide or the complete Panama relocation guide. And for those of you that maybe don't want to go on a group tour with 20 other people on a big 50 passenger bus, and you would rather just do exploring on your own or perhaps take a private tour of just one particular area, the online guide or the complete Panama relocation guide, same thing, is a really good option for you. So if you buy the online guide before the end of the year, or really before January the 5th of next year, then you're going to be invited to go to a private, only for Panama relocation tour clients, a private masterclass that we're doing about flipping domain names. Many people have asked me about having some kind of an online business whenever you move to Panama, just a way to make a little bit of extra money or a lot of extra money. And one of my side businesses that I've been doing for almost 20 years now is flipping domain names. So what is that? So domain name is, it's like a www.whatever-the-name-is.com or .net. So that's a domain name. You buy those on GoDaddy or some of the other websites for about $10. Then you can put it out on an auction website and sell it for $200 or $300 or $400 or $500. I sold one last month for $3,200, and I've sold one a couple months ago for $7,500. Usually I just make $400 or $500, but if you only have $10 invested and you sell it for that much money, it's a really good business that you can do part-time whenever you live in Panama to help you make a little bit of extra income to supplement your pension or your retirement. So, and that's going to be on January the 5th. It's only going to be for people that have either come on a Panama relocation tour or people that purchase the online guide. So if you want to be on that masterclass, you need to purchase the online guide before January the 5th. So now, without further ado, I want to bring on our two guests, and I'm going to bring them both on at the same time. So we have Peter and we have Nikolaus, who both live in the Volcan area. Nikolaus, you live in Paseo Ancho, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's
yeah.
right.
And Peter, do you live in Volcan?
Yes, I'm in Volcan actually, and I live directly in Volcan in Brisas del Norte.
Okay, I know
the northern winds actually.
Mm-hmm. So in Paseo Ancho, for people that don't know, the Volcan area is just a little bit north of downtown Volcan, on the way up to Cerro Punta,
Yes.
which is an absolutely beautiful place. And I like the Paseo Ancho area. It's got a lot of rolling hills and beautiful vistas. All of Volcan does, but you can drive just 1 mile or 2 miles or 1 or 2 kilometers and the scenery changes. It's so amazing whenever you leave Paseo Ancho and you go into Bambito, how, boom, all of a sudden it looks completely and totally different. So that's the thing about Panama. You just drive a little ways and everything changes. So let's start with Peter, first of all. So Peter, where did you move from and when did you move to Panama?
Well, I think I'm already way too long in Panama. It's actually 32 years. I was born and raised in Germany. I lived in the northern end of Bavaria in the Franconia area. And I moved down to Panama right after the U.S. invasion in 1990.
That's when all the really good deals were on real estate, from what I understand.
Oh, yes. I actually took part of that as well.
Yeah, I know one lady that over by Gualaca, she bought like 500 hectares, which is, over 1,000 acres for like $100,000 and built a couple of houses on it. It was just incredible deals that were happening then. Where was I when that was happening? There I was, a real estate investor during that same time in Texas, and I was so focused on Texas, Panama wasn't even on my radar back then. So I missed out, but the people that were here to take advantage of it got some incredible deals from what I understand. So what do you do in Volcan?
Well, in Volcan, actually right now, I'm kind of retired and not doing a whole lot. I'm working a little bit online as well. For actually a German company, doing a little bit of customer service. Not much money to be earned there, but at least it covers some expenses.
To teach you how to do domain name flipping.
Yeah, I'm absolutely looking into that. I have nothing against that, Jackie.
Okay.
Yeah, and then obviously I do support my Panamanian wife. She is with an entrepreneurial opportunity. She's interior designer. Counts on around 20 years of experience right now, and we have actually started with Sharp in Design. We are looking into projects now as well in Boquete. We did several projects already here in Volcan. Just to name one of them, the public library. My wife did the whole renovation design and for rebuilding the old library, the old public library from Volcan.
Yeah, I heard that the new one is really nice.
Yeah, that kind of keeps us busy. It's picking up a little bit, so yeah, fairly good. No complaints.
Excellent. So Nikolaus, it's your turn. Where did you move from? Now you lived in Germany, but you also lived in another country too. So where did you move from, and when did you move to Panama?
Yeah, I finally moved from Scotland. So I'm actually born, and I spent a lot of time in Bonn, Rhineland. But in 2007, I kind of immigrated, not as an immigration, but it's a combination of a professional thing, to Scotland, to Aberdeen, where I then worked until my retirement in 2020 for 13 years.
You were a physician, is that right?
Yes, a pediatrician, yeah. And but I started already to put my feet on Panamanian ground more and more frequently since 2016, when there were certain political and economical developments in Europe and Germany which I didn't like, and I did not. Okay, I was already out. I watched from outside, from Scotland, and observed how things were developing, which I didn't like. And I was kind of lured by some advertisement of a German in Veraguas who has a big property there. And I think this whole thing didn't end very well, but it was gave me the push to really do it. And at my first visit, I already organized my residence, visa and everything within 10 days with a good lawyer this was all running. And I came again and again, also for conferences, and did the final move last year. So my over 70 cartons arrived last year in November. My final move from Scotland.
So you got in under the old Friendly Nation visa, is that correct?
Yes, I'm a Friendly Nation visa.
Well, I'm sure hoping that when we're going to get a new president in January of 2024, and I've heard rumors that they may bring that back. I sure hope they do, because it's better than the current situation.
I have heard there are legal ways to modify the current conditions in a way which is not so much different from the previous one.
Exactly.
It's a few other turns you have to take. You don't need that bank account with this amount of money. So I think there can be things which maybe not so different.
Right. Yeah, we have some creative ways to get the Friendly Nation visa that's very similar to the old way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So tell us about living in Paseo Ancho. And
yeah,
why did you?
I think
that area?
It's a pity I cannot show now. The sun has gone. From my main room, from my living room, I look on Volcan Baru with all the clouds changing continuously from morning to evening. I just look out of my main window and have this mountain in front of me. This was one of my things, and why I fell in love with this house was mainly also the back area, which is a little pine forest, which reminds me of some things of my childhood in Bavaria with my grandmother's house.
Right.
The only difference, I like to bicycle, just as a fun thing, never racing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hilly. So I was used to some hills from Aberdeen, which is also not very challenging, but it has hills. But here you have to decide, either you go down to Volcan, which is 5 kilometers, but it's 200 meters elevation difference.
Mm-hmm.
And when you cycle back, you usually go against the wind when you have as now the dry season starts, the summer breezes start, and you go uphill against the wind. Okay, I prefer in the moment even to go up to Cerro Punta, which is 400 meters elevation, but because the valley has a lot of bends, the wind is a bit broken, so it doesn't matter so much, even when you have wind. It's a nice thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And
you come home relaxing.
Cerro Punta, you go to Guadalupe, in this little tourist village there. You have a coffee and something. Have a look. The tourists from Panama City, I think mostly, who want fresh mountain air there at the elevation of 1900 meters.
Have you noticed the tourists from Panama City always have on a parka and a hat and a scarf and gloves, and they're still saying "muy frío, muy frío." Yep, and then the locals have on their shorts and a t-shirt.
Exactly.
But,
yeah,
that's actually what I'm wearing.
Yeah, but people from Panama City. Yeah. Every time people from Panama City, if you take a taxi in Panama City and they say, "Oh, where are you from?" and I'll say Boquete, they say, "No, where are you really from?" and I'll say, "Well, I was born in Texas, but in my heart and soul, I'm from Boquete." Yeah. And they say, "Oh, it's muy frío there."
Sí,
so,
sí. Paso Ancho, muy frío, sí.
Very, very cold, very cold. So the Panama City people, they always think it's cold up here in the mountains. And then, of course, when I go into the city, I think, "Oh my gosh, it's so hot. I think I'm going to die. It's so hot."
It's finally the reason why we chose this area. I think I aimed for an area where you get more on without heating and without air conditioning.
Yes.
So, of course, here you may be at your limits with the heating. So there are a few days where you might like a little bit of, you need to dehumidify because in the rainy season it becomes very humid, and so you need to spend a bit of energy on that. But I always say I'm a cold German from Scotland. I don't mind this temperature of around 20 degrees. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I do agree. Actually, in my case, when I came to Panama a long, long time ago, I spent the first 11 years on Contadora Island, So I started at the complete opposite end of Panama, out in the ocean in the Pearl Islands. That's
Mm-hmm.
actually in the Gulf of Panama, about 40 miles offshore. And I was into scuba diving out there. I actually had my own dive shop out there, and we were into scuba diving, boat trips, snorkeling. I spent a lot of time underwater with about 7,000 dives logged in my logbook. I'm a scuba instructor, retired. Then life brought me back to Panama City, so I got to enjoy Panama City pretty much for 15 years. Everywhere, north, south, east, west, good areas, not so good areas, and I visited the bad one as well. Obviously, we do have that in Panama as well. Would be a lie to say no. And then 5 years ago, me and my wife we decided to move to Chiriquí, and that's how we ended up in the mountains.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a
So,
big difference. I don't know if you guys know, but I actually lived in Germany for 3 years. My dad was in the military, and when I was a teenager, I think between 1968 and like 1971, I lived in Germany. So
all right.
when I first came to the Volcan and the Boquete area, one of the first things that I thought is this reminds me of Germany. The rolling hills and the mountain, no snow, but it had the mountains in the background and just the rolling valleys and the pine trees and
Wow.
everything. But it really reminded me of good memories of my time whenever I lived in Germany. Sorry about my lights here, everybody. I'm working on it. But just the weather, is the main reason that I moved to Panama, to this area of Panama. Is coming from Texas, it was so hot. And, you just had to have your air conditioner running all the time or the heater in the wintertime. But I wanted to live someplace where I'd never need an air conditioner or a heater again. So, Nicholas, another question for you. So, here in Panama, are you retired now, or do you still dabble in a few other things?
Yeah, I'm retired. So I had a lot. I bought a house and a property, and I had a lot of. When you come in, you have a lot of repairs and things which may not work. You have to find out what is really going on. So now I'm really happy with the state. Of course, you have always projects going on, and yeah, I'm retired. And in the moment, I enjoy that. I have already lose contact with also a doctor in Panama City, also a specialist like me.
Mm-hmm.
We met on conferences. I made a little teaching for him already for his colleagues because you're not allowed to work as a doctor. I have enough. So I did more than 35 years in hospitals. So I don't need more of that as much as I liked it. And so I'm enjoying my retirement. I have a lot of music. I have a nice digital piano because I didn't want to bring my acoustic piano from Scotland to Panama, which it's for sale. So if anyone wants it, it's standing in England in Leeds in a big shop. You can just get it. It's an old Bechstein grand piano, a small one, even with ivory keys from 1936. And
Wow.
All
it's
right.
very well preserved and refurbished. So I love that instrument, but I didn't want to bring it here. It would be just decay, get moldy. Nobody will service it. And
Yeah.
yeah,
It,
Yeah.
it would be gone by now.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and you'd have a hard time keeping it tuned up because of the humidity.
exactly.
I sent a message, just like I sent a message to Nicholas to remind him about our live stream today. I also sent a message to Peter, and Peter sent me this beautiful picture of a hike that he went on today to take advantage of this beautiful weather. So, Nicholas and Peter, I'm going to make sure and put the two of you together so that you may want to get involved in some of the hikes that Peter's doing and the group of people that he hikes with.
Yeah, absolutely. It actually started for us about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. And it happened because of our puppy, what we got there. We have a border collie. And as you all might know, a border collie needs activity and is very
Sheep
active.
needs sheep.
And yeah, it's a she, a
No,
beautiful
it
little
needs
dog.
sheep.
Oh yeah, we actually have sheep in our neighborhood here
Okay.
in Brisas. So we found the way and actually joined the hiking group here in Volcan, and it's beautiful. We meet every Wednesday and every Saturday in the morning at 9 o'clock, sometimes 8:30, depends on the location. And we explore the mountains, the waterfalls, the rivers, the creeks. It's a beautiful group. International, there's Panamanians, Americans, Canadians, Germans, Italians, pretty much from everywhere. And that makes it quite nice. Beside hiking, obviously, we do other gatherings, small party, hangouts, cookouts, whatever. It's a pretty fun group, and everybody who wants to join or join us in at least one hike when you come to visit Volcan, it's fairly easy. You can get my contact. I will attach you to the group chat on WhatsApp, so you will be informed about the hikes coming up for the following day, either Wednesday or Saturday. And
I'll put it in the description of this video when it's finished. Do you meet at the same place every time whenever you're going to leave?
No, obviously not. It depends where we hike, and we go all the way. Today, actually, we walked up all the way to the edge of the national park, going over to Costa Rica.
Okay.
And then we do parks all the way down in Cuesta de Piedras. We want to make the trail going from Volcan, from actually Cerro Punta over to Boquete. That's about a 6-hour hike.
Yeah.
Right.
And we did 2 weeks ago, we did about half of it and turned around and came back because
I did half of it. 16.
The trail officially is still closed.
Yeah. So yeah, make sure both of you, if you don't mind people contacting you after the live stream, then make sure and let me know, and I'll put your contact information in the description of this live stream when it's over, so people can contact you to get hooked up to go on one of those hikes and maybe buy you a coffee when they're in the Volcan area.
Absolutely. I actually saw a couple of questions right here, and I might jump on that real quick.
Yeah, I'm going to go. Here's one right here that says for Peter. Let me come over here. So it says, Peter, do you still dive? We're coming in February and interested in a diving location.
Well, Don, sorry to tell you, I haven't stuck my head underwater for quite some time right now. I had a back problem. And then it turned out that in Volcan, there is not too much diving going on, actually.
Not too much diving. So, you said you used to do diving over by the Pearl Islands. So have you also dived in Bocas del Toro? And between the two, which one would you recommend for someone that's interested in diving?
Okay. It's a little bit difficult with operators. We have great operators right now out in Scuba Island. You actually can go on a big vessel and stay there for 3 days and do multiple 2-tank dives. I would recommend them. It's beautiful. If you're interested in big wildlife, I'm talking sharks, huge rays, manta rays,
really big
whales.
Big turtles too.
Right, big turtles. That's what we have out there in Coiba, and we had the same in the Pearl Islands on the Pacific Ocean. Pacific Ocean is a bit difficult because of the tidal flow. You're looking at average 15 feet between low tide and high tide. So watch out when you come down in February. And then the other bad news I have for you, February is actually the worst time for scuba diving in Panama in general. Water gets really murky. We have an upwell on the Pacific side caused by the continued northern winds. So it gets real murky, and actually the water temperature on the Pacific side, it drops down to the 60s and even below 60s. So all of a sudden, tropical waters where you were going in a bathing suit require you to wear a 7 mil wetsuit.
Yeah, I've heard that about diving in February, that it's not the best time to go diving.
No, not at all. Same counts for Bocas del Toro.
Yeah, so when are the best time for diving? When are the best months for diving?
It's actually on the Pacific side, and as well in Bocas del Toro, it's during the rainy season. It starts actually picking up really nice in April, May, and then throughout the year all the way till January, actually.
Okay.
In January, towards the end of January, we have that change happening, usually.
Yeah. So Peter, we're losing your light. If you have a little light that you could turn on,
Yeah,
we
hold on.
all we see is the glare in your glasses. We don't see you very well. So we'll come back. So here's a good question for Nicholas. So why Panama and not retire in the EU, like in Spain or Greece?
Because it's out of the EU.
Because it's out of the EU. Exactly.
And this was one of the things to get out of there. Okay, I observed Brexit, of course, and I still got, I also still got my British citizenship. So just around that, because I had the rights to get it. So when this question was open, we become political now. I asked myself, what would I vote for? I couldn't vote for or against Brexit, but I was there. So I asked myself, what would I do? Are the rats leaving the sinking ship in time, or would you stay on the ship to help to save it? This was the question, but so I don't know. I think the UK is a mess as well, but it's good that they are out. But the others, okay, I'm out. Okay, I get my pension from there. And so far I'm interested, as long as the German state keeps up and the euro is working. But even I take this into account, it may happen even in my lifetime that this gets into trouble.
Yeah. And I don't like the live streams to get into a political situation, but a lot of people are moving to Panama because the country that they were born in, the country that they were raised in, that it looks nothing at all like it did. Even the United States, it's nothing at all like it was whenever I was growing up in the United States. It's completely changed.
Then the other thing is, if you want this to do this step, Panama was the most economically friendly condition. You don't need to put, now you can, you don't need to put $250,000 on the table to get in. And I don't have this money. So the friendly country visa was a fantastic thing. You have other stabilities. Okay, we can talk about democracy and its stability, but we have the dollar, which is a very, in the moment, a stable thing. And what is the language is not so, if you know a few languages, it's not so difficult to learn. So this was it.
The amazing thing about Europeans, they seem to all know 4 or 5 different languages, and it seems like you were born with that knowledge. I don't know how that works. For us from the United States, it's a little bit challenging to learn another language, but it seems like in Europe, it's just easy. For some reason, easy.
You are tortured with it. So I had to learn Latin for 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I can tell you, when I came to Panama, I didn't speak a word Spanish.
Me neither.
And it helped me a lot using, I was fairly fluent and advanced in English. And I started using English words, putting on a German pronunciation, and out came Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds strange, but it works. Communication, comunicación.
Yeah.
One simple
Lots of similarities, true. Yeah.
Right.
But the structure, so I learned my Spanish with Duolingo, with the app, which I went well with it. But from the structure, I prefer to learn from German, because English is too primitive. Yeah. You don't have any sexes, you don't have genders, you don't have different articles. It's just the and that's it. And the Spanish, they have it. And so far, it must be terribly difficult to learn Spanish from English.
Yeah.
But with German, you know already some peculiarities of these languages. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. When I lived in Germany, because my dad was in the military, but we didn't live on a military base. We lived in a little town called Stahl outside of Bitburg. And so we were the only, my sister and I were the only American kids in the whole town. So all of our friends were German. So when you're surrounded by Germans and you're young, it's easy to pick up another language. So 3 months I was fluent in German. Of course, I forgot most of it now, because if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
But that little bit of German that I was exposed to certainly helped me with the Spanish here, because some of the words that were German are the same in Spanish, like library or bibliothèque. And but being exposed to another language, even if it's just for a little while, helps you pick up another one. That's for sure.
I can actually confirm, and for everybody who's planning on moving down to Panama and will be confronted with learning Spanish, and I strongly recommend do it. Be quick on it.
And you are so welcome. So when the people realize you try, they are so glad.
That's right. And actually go the right way and learn the language as you would learn a language as a child. Become innocent, start repeating what you hear, and then get into understanding what you just heard and are repeating or trying to repeat. That's how you learn to speak the language. And then afterwards, worry about grammar and the correct pronunciation and all that stuff. Become totally innocent. Start speaking. All the Panamanians will appreciate it 100%.
Yeah, definitely they will. So Nikolaus, you said you use Duolingo to help you learn Spanish.
Yes.
And when you came, Peter, it was just being exposed to. Did you use any special course to learn Spanish, or was it just being deep immersion into the Spanish culture that helped you learn Spanish?
I bought a Langenscheidt course as well, but I think Duolingo was also, before my retirement, I think you have always waiting times, even on your job. You have to sit in the theater and wait for somebody to come out and all kinds of things. I was on Duolingo all the time. So I worked 2 years. I did this. I'm completely through. First, it was very boring until I realized you can scrap a little bit forward, because you had to repeat very boring things again and again to get on. But in the end, it was the right journey. I think it's not a systematic course. You understand every twitch of grammar or so, but it's more a natural. You repeat and you go in all things. Reading, writing, hearing, talking, everything is there mixed. And I found it very useful for me. Even the free version without paying. Yeah.
In my case, I actually was forced, and I picked up my Spanish actually on the road, respectively on the island, talking to people. My first sentence was "¿Cómo se llama eso?" And then I was pointing to stuff. ¿Cómo se llama eso?
Sí.
Es un vaso. ¿Cómo se llama eso? Es un whatever. And that's how I learned little by little. And by now, I think I'm fairly fluent. I can speak, write, read Spanish. I watch Spanish movies. Not any problem in talking Spanish, giving a presentation in Spanish, helping to translate Spanish, English, German, whatever.
Mm-hmm. So a question for both of you. So Peter, when you moved to the Volcan area, are you renting there or did you buy a property?
We actually, we had a flat in Panama City, and we decided to actually buy here in Volcan. So we bought a property, a fairly decent price, a beautiful area. It's a little bit outside Volcan, but in 3-4 minutes on my bicycle, I'm down in the middle of town.
Right.
And a nice little house with 1,200 square meters of land, nice backyard, big enough to grow some potatoes and tomatoes and whatever fruits on it. Mm-hmm. And actually add a second house on the property, maybe go Airbnb. But, whenever the funds are available to do that. Right now, it's a little bit tight.
Yeah, I was actually interested and drawn to another area, and I even bought also a piece of land there, which is Santa Fe. Uh-huh. I really like this area, and it's in about 400 meters elevation, but it's steep far into the middle mountain range. So you have already, the climate is a bit warmer than here, I think about more 24, 25 degrees. And you have already always the struggle of the clouds coming from the Caribbean over, drying up, also beautiful landscape. And I finally decided not to go there because in my age, I didn't want to load on the task on me to build a house from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I just
there's also not a lot of amenities that are there in the Santa Fe area. Like, no grocery stores, no hospitals, not very many restaurants and things like that. So as we get older, it's more important to have those things a little bit closer to us, not an hour and a half away. So are you renting, Nikolaus, or did you buy something there?
I bought a house here, yes.
So what advice would each one of you give someone who's thinking about moving to Panama to look for a house to rent or something to buy? We'll start with you, Peter.
All right. I would say be careful. We have lots of foreigners coming to Panama with the desire to actually stay and invest, get a house, get a property. And there's lots of realtors around. You can get really good deals if you buy directly from the owner. That's one thing. I always would recommend first rent, stay for at least like 5-6 months, maybe a year in the area. Try to explore as much as you can, and then find out, well, this is really an area I want to be. I want to settle down, and then take the decision to maybe purchase a property. If rented, it's easier to move out and go somewhere else, which might be a better fit for you. So further than that, property rights are fine. It's easy to own property. It's safe to own property here in Panama. Always get a lawyer involved, a reliable lawyer. That's what I can tell you.
Right. One of the things, and I'm going to get your take on it in just a little bit, Nikolaus, but I wanted to make a comment that one of the things that people make a mistake about whenever they come here looking for a rental or looking for something to buy is let's say they're Canadian. They think, oh, I want to work with another Canadian because I'm a Canadian, they're Canadian, so I can trust them. I'm a German, you're a German, I can trust them because they're from my country. But that's not the case. That's not true. Just because someone is from your country, just because they speak your native language, they're familiar, maybe they're from the same town, it doesn't mean that they're trustworthy. The best thing to do is you have to get, just because they're a real estate agent, just because they're licensed, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily trustworthy. So you have to get recommendations. And that's why that renting for 6 months at least, or 12 months is even better, because during that 6 or 12 months, you can talk to a lot of people, say, I'm sort of thinking about buying, and who would you recommend? Or do you know anybody that has a house for sale? Your best deals are always going to come from dealing with the owner directly, and there's no middle person that's involved. So Nikolaus, what would your advice be for someone that's coming here looking to buy or rent?
Yeah, with these two previous commentaries, I would completely agree. And actually, from when I recommend Jackie's website, which is so full of free information, I would completely agree, because I did the mistakes. I
did too.
I did it 3 times. First, I got this involvement with this person in Veraguas who kind of has a very attractive advertising. But after 2 years, it turned out nothing happens. I bought something and all the things which were on the contract didn't happen. And then I think this group another group in Santa Fe, which is a group of an Austrian and 2 people from the Rhineland, they were completely different. I had contact to them by the experience of the other one, and otherwise I wouldn't have met them. And I think what they had done within 6 months after their purchase was incredible. So we still have a very good understanding. And again, this home here, it was just so attractive. I felt just at home. I have visited the house for over 2 years again and again before I bought it. And I really had the feeling, that is it. That is it, what I really want and where I feel at home. But I would still always give and join the advice of Jackie. On your website, you write it, the same what you said now, rent for 6 months. And I think you have also to feel the turn of the year. So we had 2 months ago, we had a terrible days of flooding against. There were houses were fallen into the river because the river has cut through a bend which is not there anymore. It goes straight through, and it has taken some houses with it. So, and a bridge and everything. So you have to get a feeling of these the rainy season, how it can get, how extreme things can get. And I think also you would look for your location when you see that, oh, this is not safe really. When you go to the mountain, I don't think on the beach it may be not as different.
Oh, yes, it is. It's the same. It's the same. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you're absolutely right that it's, you know, you can come here in January, February, March. It's the dry season then. And you can say, oh my gosh, it's absolutely beautiful. Even though it's a little bit windy or a whole lot windy,
Yeah.
You can say it's absolutely beautiful. But that does not even prepare you for what it's going to be like in September, October, and November,
Right.
where the Volcan in the Boquete area might get 30 or 40 inches of rain in 1 month, and just in 1 month. So I think it's so important. 6 months that straddles the windy season and the dry season. But ideally, you rent for at least 1 year to make sure you like that area before you jump into buying anything, because you can see the house and it's absolutely beautiful in February, but you don't know, even though it's going to be windy probably in February, but you don't know what it's going to be like in the rainy season. So you need to wait until you've rented for a little while. I don't understand why some people are so set on getting here and buying something right away. They have to buy something. I think some people think they don't want to waste money on renting something. But, you know, if you absolutely love the house that you're renting, you could probably negotiate to buy it and have the rent that you paid rolled into the purchase price, or at least half of it rolled into the purchase price. So there's always something to negotiate. So you don't have to feel like you're throwing your money away if you're renting, but also where you really could throw your money away, working on the light, where you could really throw your money away is if you buy in an area and then as soon as the rains start, you decide you don't like it and then you can't sell it. And you wait and you wait and you wait and you have a hard time selling it. So it's don't rush into buying. That's always been my advice. Real estate agents hate me for that. They say, what do you mean telling people not to buy anything? They need to rush into buying something because, you know, that's how we make our money. And I said, yeah, but it's not the best thing for my clients. They need to rent first. Yeah. So another thing came up about facilities that are available in Volcan. So Volcan, unlike Boquete, doesn't have a nice hospital, but Volcan does. But let's talk about, Peter, we'll start with you, talk about some of the other amenities like grocery stores and restaurants and things like that are available in the Volcan area.
Well, the great deal is actually Volcan is in a stage of development right now. We have a brand new road going up to Volcan, which about 2 years, 3 years ago was kind of a suicide road driving up. No lights, no street marks, narrow street, full of potholes. It was dark. You drive through the clouds, so that has changed a lot. Then the whole downtown area from Volcan is getting a new boulevard, cutting through Volcan from one side to the other. Beautiful with nice wide sidewalks and even a bicycle lane. We will have trees planted there. And that obviously has brought some more options for us. We're getting the Baru supermarket right now. They are supposed to open in December.
Super Baru.
So grocery stores, a wide variety from the simple, small Chinese retailer all the way up to a high-end exclusive supermarket. We have high-speed internet up here in most areas. I would say Volcan, downtown and around town, everywhere with fiber optics. We have a nice hospital. We have clinics, dentists, all different kinds of doctors up here. I think I wouldn't find anything what I'm really missing. Restaurants, from the typical Panamanian $3.50 meal all the way up to a real nice meal to Hotel Dos Rios, to
Bambito.
other high-end restaurants where you can really get decent food, and you're still looking at decent prices compared to Panama City.
Yeah, I like Barrico's Mexican food.
Right.
You know, we don't have any good Mexican food over here in Boquete, but when I go to Volcan, I have to go to Barrico's to have some enchiladas and some good Mexican food.
Absolutely.
So Nicholas, give us your information about any amenities and facilities that you think are really great in the area.
Yeah, I think you can maybe decide it from the frequency you feel you need to go to David. So it goes less and less. And I have friends here, an older German couple, both over 80 years old, who moved also maybe 3 years ago. And they have said they haven't been to David for 1.5 years.
Yeah.
So you get everything. I think specialty medical stuff. I had a more complicated tooth treatment where the local dentists say, oh, this is not for me. Go to this man. He recommended a very, very good dentist in David. But I think if you want to buy special things, do-it-center, DIY stuff, you have very good ferreterias here. There may be something a bit cheaper, but then you have to drive.
Right.
Yeah? In David, or maybe electrical things, Panafoto, or these kinds of things we don't have. But the real everyday stuff, you don't need to leave that town.
Yeah. No. You know, the only time I go to David is my washer dryer. I have a stackable washer and dryer, and it broke about a month ago, just was making this horrible noise. And I decided it was just time for a new one. So there's not really any good places in Boquete to buy that. So I went down to Do It Center, saw the one I liked. It was delivered the next day, you know, in and out in 30 minutes.
And but I have even discovered in furnishing my house that Paso Canoas on the border to Costa Rica is even a better place to shop than David. There are two big malls which have everything from food to garden tools, everything under one roof, to very good prices. And I like Paso Canoas for shopping.
Yes, I did as well. But unfortunately, one of the big malls burned down.
Not completely. They were still open. I was there after the fire, and they were already refurbishing. And
yeah. So here's a little tip of information that you guys might not know about. Did you know that there's a Lands End store in Volcan? You know what Lands End is? It's high-end clothes, and they have jackets and things like that. Well, it's Seconds and Surplus that's at the San Benito Church that they sell the Lands End clothes there. And you can get a really nice shirt, super high quality for $2, maybe $3. They have slacks, they have skirts, they have sweaters, they have jackets. You can get a nice jacket for $8 to $10 at the Lands End store in Volcan. Right. So also they have, I think, the Friday organic market. Are you familiar with that? The organic market they have?
It's not Saturday.
No, it's every Friday in the morning hours, 8 to 12, actually, 8 to 11:30, out in Corazón del Cielo.
Right.
That's a small subdivision
I think
area.
It's changed back to the Mexican restaurant to a Saturday now.
Okay.
This was a few months ago. Now it is on Saturdays in front of this Mexican restaurant, which you like.
Yeah, burritos.
Friday, we have a recycling team here, a recycling initiative, which takes recycling goods from Friday from 9 to 12.
That's right.
So there is a Facebook group called Volcan, Volcan community group. And any of you that are interested in learning more about Volcan, I would advise that you get on that group. It's comprised mostly of people that already live there or people that are thinking about moving there. And I know that the market was at Barrico's for the longest time, you know, for 10 years. And then when the whole pandemic thing started, It stopped being there and moved to a different location. But anyway, there are markets. There's besides just the fruit and vegetable stands that are all over the place. You can get a huge bag, a really big bag, like 30 pounds of mixed fruits and mixed vegetables for about $8 in Volcan. And you'll see those big bags alongside the road. When you're driving up to Cerro Punta, you'll see them on both sides of the road. Plus, you can just buy so much of the vegetables are grown in Cerro Punta. So if you live in Volcan, your price for food is actually going to be cheaper for vegetables than it would be if you were anyplace else, because the other place have the transportation cost, whereas Volcan is just right down the road, or you can even drive 20, 30 minutes to get up to Cerro Punta and buy things up there.
Right.
So like you said, everything you need is absolutely available in the Volcan area. And, some people like to go to Price Mart and get the 24 package of toilet paper or the 12 package of paper towels. Me, I'd rather just go to the local grocery store instead of driving all the way to David for anything.
Yeah, and I think there is something in being a foreigner. I think just with the fact we are here now, we are immensely rich people against many of them here. And so I like them to support. I think they are clever to bring us into the country in the right way. They want to bring people into the country which bring money with them. So, and I think then it's right to support the local people and the local stores and change between the different local restaurants here and there. So this is...
Yeah, I do agree. And I would like to add, after having lived 15 years in the city, in Panama City, where it actually took me for a distance which the real time it would take is 10 minutes, for example, from my flat to the office of my wife, and it took you an hour and a half because of traffic in the morning, and then 2 hours to go back in the afternoon, and standing in traffic and burning gasoline. Here in Volcan, actually, I really enjoy it. It's a nice sightseeing trip. It's scenic. You drive downhill. You have the beautiful view all the way down to the ocean. You go to David, you get everything you need, and you drive the beautiful road back up. I do enjoy that instead of standing 2 hours in a traffic jam.
Yeah. And for those of you that don't plan to own a car whenever you move to Volcan, because I know many people don't own a car. They just use public transportation in town. I think it's less than $2 to take a bus from Volcan into David. $3. Then you take the bus back.
That's right.
I think here is in the chat is a Dieter who doesn't get any questions answered, and he even wants some personal contact. I think how you can organize that.
So when this is over, in the description of this live stream, I'm going to put the contact information for Peter and Nikolaus. I mentioned that earlier, but perhaps you missed it. But I will have their contact information so you can contact them. So somebody asked about the hospital that's in Volcan. It's a public hospital. So as a public hospital, there's no monthly fee to use it. If you need to go to the doctor, it's usually emergency room. It's usually less than $2. And if you need to see a cardiologist or some other specialist, you can arrange that, and it's about $5 to see a cardiologist.
Yeah. X-ray, jaw panorama X-ray, $10.
Okay. Imagine those prices, huh? And this is with no insurance. No insurance. These are just the cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't provide too much input on that because I hate doctors. I try to stay out of the doctor office or of the clinic as far as I can.
So someone asked about the infrastructure. So that can encompass the roads, the internet, the electricity, all kinds of different things. So let's start with just the internet. So the internet service that each of you have, how is your internet service? Do you have any problems with it? What kind of speed do you get?
I think it's fairly good availability up here. As I mentioned before, we have pretty much everywhere fiber optics. I am one of the big exceptions. I have an antenna on the roof of my house. because in the subdivision I live, the distance from the last distribution point from fiber optics down to my house is a little bit too far. So
Yeah.
I'm still with antenna, but I'm still running 100 megas.
That's good.
Yeah, it's not a problem at all.
You know,
It's fairly
Starlink.
reliable. It drops out, comes back after a minute or two.
Yeah.
So yeah, right now I'm actually at a neighbor's house, and they are connected through fiber optics. You can get up to 600, even 1,000 megas
Yeah.
speed. So not a problem.
Well,
Roads, great. They are building the roads. We have new roads everywhere.
yeah. The road,
Sewer, electricity. Electricity drops out fairly often. It's
especially in the
those,
winter season.
yeah, but it's those power breaks I don't understand, because the power goes out, takes a minute and a half, 2 minutes, it's back. Nothing has happened. So
American system.
yeah, probably.
Yeah. You know, Starlink is going to be available in Panama in January of 2023. They already have it in Bocas del Toro. So if anybody's interested in that, it's a satellite internet, but it's going to be really fast speeds.
Right.
So if you live in a more remote area, that's going to open up where you can live. You don't have to live in town or close to where there's fiber optic to be able to get good internet. You'd be able to use Starlink if you lived in a more remote area. You just have to compare the costs, because there are several, like you said, satellite internet companies that may be more affordable than Starlink. You just have to do a comparison.
Right.
So, Nicholas, in Paseo Ancho, how do you find the internet and electricity, water service, and all those things there? Any problems?
I think I actually got a new road when I bought the house. I had a dirt road in front of the house. Now I have a brand new road which ends after my piece of land, after my property. It ends there.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a big benefit. Internet, when I moved really for a long time last year, I had the house had a cable from Cable Onda, which just needed to be reactivated from Tigo. So I have cable internet, and as I'm not a gamer, I have the slowest version available, which is even not on the website, a slower version, which is absolutely fine. I download up to 6 megabytes per second. So I don't need more. And you see the connection now runs over my my local Tigo internet. Electricity, yeah, Natugi, I think I can sure the power cuts happen. Some days, Sundays, 5-6 hours even. So, but I think it's often to repairs. They do repairs, and you get used to it. Water supply, Paso Ancho has a separate water supply, different from Volcan. We have our own water from a bit up the hill. After the last terrible storm, it was broken for 3 days because the main things were gone. But I have a water tank in the house which provides me for 2-3 days of water, even if I get.
So this is a good point. So everybody that moves to Panama, whether you're renting a house or you buy a house, you should get a house that has a reserve water tank, because at the end of the dry season, there could be times when there's not real good water pressure, or when there's even no water coming to your house. Or if there's a really, really big rain, there could be so much rain coming into the aquifer that it clogs up and it messes up, and then you don't have water for some reason. But if you have a reserve water tank, I have 2 10,000-liter water tanks at my property, but I have 3 houses on my property. So 2 10,000-liter reserve tanks. So the municipal water comes into the reserve tank and it fills it up. And then when you turn on your faucet, it goes through a filter out of the reserve tank and comes into the house. But I always have extra water by having a reserve water tank. So when you're looking for a rental property or a house to buy, try to find one that already has a reserve water tank. And if it doesn't have one, invest in the money to get one, because you're definitely going to need it. You know, I didn't even realize it's already been 1 hour. We've talked for so long.
And
so
the investment doesn't need to be so big, because my house had a 250-meter water line from the main, which was always broken very bad. So in January, I decided I have enough. So we make a complete new waterline connection to the main line, which is shorter now, which was done from the idea to finishment in 1.5 days. So it's doable, and we have nice pressure now, and yeah, I'm happy with that.
So someone said to please tell me again the area where Nikolaus lives. So it's called Paseo Ancho, Pasoancho, and it's just a little bit north of Volcan on the way up to Cerro Punta. So Peter and Nikolaus, I want to thank both of you for sharing so much good information with everybody. We have some people on here that are from Europe and people from the UK, and they were really interested in getting a different perspective because I have so many people from Canada or from the United States on our live streams. So it was good to hear from somebody different. So Peter, you have any final words of wisdom for somebody that's from Europe that's thinking about moving to Panama?
Well, I can tell you, if you decide to take the step, you will not be sad about it or regret it afterwards. I haven't done so in 32 years. I've seen and been through the good, the bad, and the ugly here in Panama. Have seen all the different governments. Unfortunately, there's always issues, yes. But if I compare it to Germany, to Europe, and right now in our times, come to Panama, enjoy your life. It's still affordable here.
Maybe also a remark, because in July we had really uproars here where the Pan American Highway was blocked because of protests.
Right.
And it lasts over 2 weeks, and this is just the time when I came back from Europe. So we needed over a week to travel from Panama City to here. So we had to spend 2 nights in Panama and then in Santiago 3 nights, and the police said no, still not. So in the end, when you see how the country solved it, it's amazing. I think we had violent protests on the city in Santiago. We were in Santiago when they had fires under the bridge and people throwing down things on the police. But in the end, I think the country solved it constructively. We got the frozen price for the fuel, and because there was some pressure, they were harming themselves. So Panama City was running out of food, and Chiriquí was running out of fuel. So both sides suffered, and they needed a solution to bring this back together.
So we got to see democracy happening.
Yeah.
The pure form of democracy happening. And it's, so many, I was actually out of the country whenever all that was happening, but I had tours that were going on. So I had to fly people from Panama City over to David because there's no way we could drive and then come up with a whole new itinerary and schedule to be able to do it. But, the poorest people of Panama, which are maybe the Nobe Indians and people that just couldn't afford to pay those high $5 a gallon prices for gas, they have no other way to really, they can complain and complain and complain, but the only way to be heard, unfortunately, is to block the Pan American Highway, which is the only road that goes across the country. So the government listens whenever that happens. And so whenever you move to Panama, I'm just telling you, there's going to be times when the roads get blocked because people want something done or they want something not to happen that the government wants to do. And their way to get their voice heard is to block the road, whether it's the road to Bocas del Toro, the road going into Panama City or coming out of Panama City. But the whole time I've lived here, the protest that happened in July was the biggest one I've ever seen. Now, Peter, you probably saw some big ones right after the invasion.
Well, let me tell you, after the invasion, actually, it was quiet and nice in Panama. I would say it was really paradise back then.
Yeah.
This one, the last one in July, I think it was the best organized and strongest protests I have seen in over 30 years in Panama.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Nationwide.
Yeah, I've heard that from many people that it was the biggest protest. But like you said, it was very well organized.
Yeah,
funnily,
exactly.
in the end, the Catholic Church was involved to solve it. They organized the round table in Panama.
Yeah,
The
but
Month.
that
bishop
didn't
of
work.
Panama organized the kind of roundtable to bring people together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that didn't work.
So, and the result for people that aren't familiar, so the things they were protesting were the high price of gasoline. That was like the straw that broke the camel's back, was
That's
the high
right.
price of gasoline. It just kept going up and up. And, but the problem is the bus drivers and taxis, they had limits on what they could charge. So they just, they weren't making any money. But also the high price of medications. A lot of medications cost more in Panama than they are in any other Central American country. And also the cost of food because of inflation and transportation costs. The price of food was going up. And of course, there's always the protest about government corruption, which is in every single government, and Panama is no exception. So those are all the different things that they were protesting. And they did come to an agreement. They capped the price of gasoline. They lowered it to where it was reasonable. Again, they lowered the price of I don't know, 100 or so different medications by at least 30% less. They reduced the price of food. They had price controls on certain food items that were the basic items that people buy, rice and chicken and eggs and things like that. So the protest, as painful as it was here in Panama for those couple of weeks, it accomplished what needed to happen to make life more comfortable for everybody here in Panama, especially for the people that could least afford those more expensive things. So once again, Peter and Nicholas, I want to thank you so much for sharing all of your information with us. And with your permission, I'm going to send you a message on WhatsApp or Facebook or email, however I contacted you previously. But with your permission, I'll share your contact information in the description of this for anybody that might want to reach out to you with additional questions after this live stream. So thanks again, everybody, for being on the live stream. Thanks, Peter and Nicholas. And remember, next Saturday is going to be our last live stream for 2022, and it's going to be our monthly Q&A. It's your chance to ask questions and get answers about moving to and living in Panama. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks again.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye. Bye.